A lot of people think retirement happens when everything is perfectly lined up. The finances are in place, the plan is crystal clear, and there's no doubt left at all. Well, that wasn't my experience, because the reality is quite often that moment never comes. When I retired, I wasn't 100% certain. Sure, I still had fears, I still had questions, and I definitely didn't have every answer. So in this video, I want to share how I knew it was time to retire, even without total certainty, and provide you with some reassurance that trusting yourself can matter way more than having everything perfectly figured out. This isn't a here are 5 signs you should retire type video, and it's definitely not a get your finances perfect and everything be rosy story either. It's just simply my experience, because as I mentioned, I didn't have it all figured out. So I'm going to share with you what I was sure about and what I wasn't. Plus, I'm also going to reveal what the sealer was for me, so do hang around towards the end of the video for that one. If you're somewhere in that in-between space or just sitting on the fence thinking about retirement and wondering, am I actually ready? Well, this video may just be for you. If you're new here or you're a returning viewer, my name's Paul and thanks for stopping by. I didn't retire because I was exhausted or angry with work. I was just done. Done with the politics, done with the constant posturing, done with the pretending the next change would make it all meaningful again. It just felt like I'd taken this chapter as far as it could go. Because you reach a point where you're not mentally or physically drained, there's just no excitement. You don't go home feeling like you've had a good day, or a bad day for that matter. It's just a feeling of, oh well, another day ticked off, nothing dramatic, nothing remarkable. This was the big realisation for me. It wasn't so much the job I was ready to leave, it was the structure around it. The routine, the commute, someone else owning my calendar, being on or upbeat because the system required it, not because I necessarily wanted to be. And at some point I realised it wasn't the work I wanted to escape from, it was the control around it, and the fact that work pretty much governed my life. I wanted flexibility. I wanted to decide how my days actually went. In other words, I yearned for my freedom, especially knowing it was touchable. And in the end, that mattered more to me than any job title or any paycheck that went with it. This is important, it was my missing link. Because I wasn't retiring from work because I hated it, I was retiring towards something else. And no, that something wasn't a perfectly detailed plan. It actually came out of the blue, or as I say, just fell out of the sky. Together with my leisure activities, it was actually doing this, and it had given me a real direction. And it's a bit of a vice versa thing where I build both my day-to-day retired life around it, things like waking up when I'm ready, travel, going out for lunch, etc. But then there's days where this is my focus, and those things I just mentioned fit around it. But the key thing here is you don't need to have a fully formed vision to retire. You just need to know which way you want to walk, and that can be whatever you define as purpose or just what simply puts a smile on your face. Okay, let's talk about money briefly and honestly. I didn't retire because I was suddenly wealthy. I retired because I was informed. I knew my target, my expenses, and the way I was going to live in retirement, which wasn't going to be overly different to how I had been previously. Look, it certainly wasn't perfect where everything just fell into place, but at the same time, it wasn't a situation where I was guessing. Why? Because I got some advice and assistance that enabled me to work out my number. And as I've mentioned on the channel previously, I encourage you to do likewise, to work out your number, which is the only number that matters. It's not his, it's not hers or theirs, it's yours. And it may actually be less than you actually think. There's a huge difference between uncertainty and ignorance. And clarity removes far more fear than extra money ever does. This might be the most important part, because fear didn't disappear when I made the decision, nor did the apprehension magically vanish. What changed wasn't the fear, it was my willingness to trust myself despite it. Confidence didn't come first, trust did. And trust came from knowing that I'd thought this through, even if I hadn't thought through everything. I reflected on big decisions I'd made previously in my life, investments, decisions, people, jobs, etc. And consoled myself by saying, well, those things worked out reasonably well despite not knowing everything at the time. So again, I backed myself with this one. And now for the sealer, because at some point the question shifted. It stopped being, am I ready to retire? I started thinking about the reality if I didn't take the plunge to retire. And it came down to this one question that sealed it for me, and that was, am I really prepared to forego one more year, possibly my best year of retirement, in exchange for one more year of work. And that just told me everything I needed to know. So guys, if you're waiting for total certainty before retiring, you just might be waiting forever. Feeling ready doesn't mean having no doubts. It means knowing you've thought it through as best you can. And being willing to back yourself, most importantly. So if this resonated with you, let me know in the comments where you're at in your retirement planning journey. And be sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you're up to date with all the latest content. Thanks again for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one, and bye for now.